back, friends, to Build a Lot Acres. My name's Case, and today is a big day. Stay tuned. So by big day, I mean we're going to be setting some big timbers for our mill building, such as these 24-foot long 6x14 carrying beams, and I've also got the 8x8 11-foot long oak corner post. So, you know, there's a lot of challenges to working by yourself with regular sized lumber, but when you're dealing with lumber like this that's in the several hundred-pound range, you know, you're talking a lot of extra work involved, and it's going to be a challenge. We're dealing with some really big timbers, and it should make for an interesting video. Let's go. So the reason I'm washing all these is because as they sat on the ground, all the torrential rains we've been getting, which seems like every rainstorm now, has kicked up a lot of dirt in that freshly cleared mill area. And all of my lumber that I milled is really covered with dirt, and I don't want to dull any saw blades or have it look crappy once it's up. So I want to wash them all, get them nice and clean, and make sure they look nice. Whenever you're building something that involves a post base like this, you want to keep the post off the concrete. That's why the brackets you buy from the store are going to have some way to keep it raised up off of the ground so the moisture doesn't get absorbed into the bottom. So what I ended up doing is I just took a piece of PVC trim board. Oftentimes you'll see it called AZEK or AZEK. That's just a name brand of PVC trim board. It's probably the most commonly known brand, and they might be the original brand, I don't know, but just PVC trim board. I had a piece laying around from another project. I just drilled a hole in the center, and that's going to keep the post off of the ground, or off of the concrete, I should say, 3/4 of an inch, just enough so that the bottom doesn't rot out. And then you saw earlier when I was washing the post, you probably noticed I drilled a hole in the center of the bottom of the post to go over the nut so that there's no issues with that. So for anyone curious, these brackets are 8 1/8 wide. I had to make them a hair bigger just so I had a little bit of wiggle room with my post. 3/16 steel. The legs are 8 inches long. So to bend them and drill the holes was $240 with tax for all 4 brackets, which I didn't think was bad, because when I was looking online, they were getting more than that for the chintzy ones that are probably made in China. So these are locally made. I'm supporting a local business, and I really don't have any way to bend 3/16 inch thick steel. I could have drilled the holes, but honestly, for the price they get, it wasn't worth me spending an entire day working on these. I'd be better off doing other projects. Some things, you know, I try to do a lot of things myself, as you guys know, try to save money where I can, but some things you just got to leave to the professionals. They have the tools and the know-how to do it quickly and make it look nice. that was heavy. So we got 2 of the corner posts in. These are actually the ones I wanted to get in first because they're in the back and they're harder to get to than the fronts. And I actually want to be able to put the beam in before I put the front posts in, so I don't have to lift the beam up over those posts, because that's another tricky thing I got to figure out. The bottom of the carrying beam is going to be 10 feet off the floor, and the Coyote only picks up 9 feet. So I'm going to have to come up with a way to get an extra foot of lift height to get those beams set on those pockets. But first, let's wash this beam. This thing is really dirty. So what do you guys think of this baby? A special shout out to my friend Carl, if you're watching, for letting me borrow this. He actually has 2 of these saws, believe it or not. So this is about the biggest circular saw you're ever gonna see. 16 and 5/16 inch blade. Your normal circular saw, like you can see this Makita, is 7 1/4. Sometimes you've got an 8 1/4, but they also do make like 10 1/4s for beams. But these are specifically made for big beams, log cabins, timber framing, things you need to make, you know, deeper cuts in big timbers. This will actually cut a 6 1/4 inch deep cut. So you can actually cut through true 6x6 material in one pass. And I believe at 45 degrees, it will still cut through a 4x. This is actually a worm drive saw. For those unfamiliar, worm drive, basically it has a gear, and then on top of the gear, it looks like a bolt with gears, and that's the worm. So it drives on the worm. And it has much more torque than a normal circular saw is going to have, and it's really good for big timbers, tough timbers, you know, hardwood, things like that. But I think it's going to work out perfect for this job. Holy moly. That thing is impressive. Is that thing impressive or what? Holy moly. So what we got to do here is, the building's 24 feet long, but I'm going to have a 2x14, which you saw me mill in a previous video. If you haven't seen that one, please go check it out. But so I got to cut the beam 2 inches short on each side, because that 2x14 is going to pass by and connect to the ends, give a nice strong box frame for this roof structure. So I got to cut it 24 foot minus 4 inches. So we're going to mark it 23 foot 8. while the beam is on the ground, this is a great time to mark it out for your rafters and your collar ties. It's a lot easier now than when it's 10 feet in the air. So let's mark out those 2-foot on centers. What do you guys think of that? That looks pretty good, doesn't it? I gotta say, that was a lot of work by myself, but it is possible. I showed it today. You can do it by yourself. Even setting these multi-100-pound beams. Like I said, if you figure out the weight, 168 board feet in each beam, and then I think 58 to 59 board feet in each post, oak and pine, it's several hundred pounds each member. So there's a lot of weight to these. This is a beefy structure. Probably one of the beefiest structures I've ever built. Not biggest, but as far as the size of the timber is definitely one of the biggest of that nature. So I think it's coming out good. I'm gonna add my Y braces, get everything level and square. I'm gonna put in the rest of my screws once I know it's square and it's good. And I think that's gonna be it for today's video. I'll see you guys next time.